Today we will be going to the review, I would say the final review of our sutta, SABBASAVA Sutta. I hope that you may have given some readings of the sutta at the same time. The notes, actually, these notes are mostly later on become some questions about what we see in the sutta. And I hope that you may have read some of the sections and almost all the notes. So we are going to discuss about the sutta today as a review. All right. So I think I can see there are some new faces. Probably you joined halfway. We are going to, I would say, look at the sutta, concisely, probably as a summary. Let me first bring this up. Why is this sutta very important? Now, in the Sutta Pitaka, at the beginning of sutta discussions, I informed you that it is better to learn Dhamma from early Buddhism. Can you remember that? It is better to learn Dhamma from early Buddhism. Because we have so many texts coming out, and then school Buddhism, and then commentaries, and then other books, probably sub-commentaries. So when we learn the Buddha's Dhamma, it is better to learn from early Buddhism. Early Buddhism means the common basis to all the traditions. Early Buddhism, according to many scholars and many, I would say, especially scholars, and then practitioners too, is the first four Nikayas of the Sutta Pitaka. Right? The first four Nikayas. Nikaya is a word that we use for certain different texts of the Sutta Pitaka. So we say that Diga Nikaya, long teachings. I would say long teaching means in terms of the context. And then the middle end sayings, Majjhima Nikaya. And then the Anguttara Nikaya, teachings that were given by numbers. And then Samyutta Nikaya, teachings given by sections, not exactly how the Buddha gave them, but this is how the texts were compiled, categorized by a senior monk. So if you look at these Nikayas, the first four Nikayas, Diga, Majjhima, Samyutta, Anguttara, are considered to be early Buddhism. So that is why we started off our sutta discussion by highlighting, by emphasizing that you are learning suttas from early Buddhism. And we are not going to Abhidhamma, we are not going to commentaries, we are not going to Visuddhimagga, because we have set the boundaries. So the reason why we set the boundaries was to give the original, authentic teachings as much as we understand from the text itself. That's why we started off our sutta discussion by discussing of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta appears in the Samyutta Nikaya. Remember? The first sutta, which was supposed to be given by the Buddha, appears in the Samyutta Nikaya. There is a certain Samyutta called Satya Samyutta. And then we picked up the SABBASAVA Sutta. SABBASAVA Sutta appears in the Majjhima Nikaya. The reason why I picked up SABBASAVA Sutta, of course, it is a part of early Buddhism, to learn the overall process of akusala. Now we pick akusala from different places. If somebody is asked what is akusala, they might say lobha, dosa, moha. They are called akusala roots, the roots of akusala. But how do these akusalas discharge from somebody's mindset, that is where we learn influxes, we call them asavas. That is why it is very important to learn Sabbasava Sutta, where you understand how do these akusalas, come from, and they are called as asavas. And the Buddha says that all asavas, or all influxes in English word, I would like to use the Pali word, all asavas can be managed. They can be managed only if you know how to manage them. And at the same time, I informed you that not all asavas can be managed in one way, in one method. And there are 7 methods that you may use to deal with different asavas. Or in your own wording, different akusalas. Akusalas cannot be dealt in one way. Different akusalas have to be dealt with different ways. So that's why Sabbasava Sutta clearly mentions that there are 7 methods. Right? So this is just a very simple understanding of the Sabbasava Sutta. But then if you go into the Sabbasava Sutta, you will understand how did the Buddha actually explain these 7 methods. Now, long time ago, I think probably 12, 13 years ago, when I was teaching Sabbasava Sutta in a local temple in Canada, I remember when I said that bhavana, B-H long A, V-A-N long A, bhavana, developing, cultivation. Cultivation or developing 7 bodhjangas, 7 awakening factors, is only one method. Then somebody asked me, then don't you think that the rest of the 6 are also kind of cultivation? Don't you think that the rest of the 6 are also kind of meditations? You could see that they could be contemplation, they could be sort of developing things, but they are not necessarily cultivations. They are different methods. But if you see cultivation, or I would say developing maybe a bhavana, meditation as a specific method, it only refers to the 7th method in this sutta. That means going beyond the meditation, there are other things that you have to do in your practice, 6 other things. You could finally say that they could be a part of meditation, but they are not necessarily meditation. Because if they are meditations, then the Buddha didn't want to say developing is only one method. Because there are 6 other ways to deal with certain akusalas. Now here we call them as asavas. All right, so today we have the note. I prepared a blog post for that too. Let's go and see. So we can understand, we can go in a probably a more proper way of reviewing the text. Sutta. Day 22nd, this was the day that we started off the Sabbasava Sutta. We discuss about an overview of the sutta. This is the sutta, and we had a sort of an overview, kind of an overview of the whole sutta that day. And you can see over here that at the beginning of the sutta, Buddha says, Sabbasava Sangvara Pariyayanko Bhikkhave Desissami. Sabbasava Sangvara Pariyaya. Pariyaya is the methodology. Sabba means all. Asava means influxes or asavas. Sangvara means what you call restraining. That means when it comes to asavas, a more proper action for what you can do in regard to asava could be restraining. Because our akusalas are energies, isn't it? Akusalas. When you are angry, it is an energy. When you are jealous, it's an energy. When you are practicing mudita, altruistic joy, it's an energy too. When you practice metta, it is an energy too. So the Buddha says that rather destroying, rather eliminating in the first place, restraining your akusalas, restraining yourself, could be a better terming in terms of asavas, so onwarding akusalas. And then the Buddha actually mentions this important sentence, Janatu aham bhikkave passatu asavana kayang vada. No ajanatu, no apassatu. Janatu aham bhikkave passatu asavana kayang vada. No ajanatu, no apassatu. What does it mean? This means I am teaching you the method or the methods of restraining or eliminating akusalas by not only knowing but also seeing them at the time of their arising. Now this is very interesting. Janatu passatu. Now we have a problem when it comes to akusalas, especially kilesas, defilements, akusalas. Sometimes, or probably most often, we know that these are akusalas. But still akusalas give us a hard time. Why is it? Now we know that I'm getting angry. But anger still takes us over. Why is it? Knowing is not enough. Knowing that this is anger is not enough. Being able to see anger or any akusala mental states at the time of arising is also very important. Janato means knowing, passato means seeing. People who have a very good life, very peaceful day at the very least, are those who not only know that this is an akusala, but also those who see the akusala at the time of arising and then happening. That is a skill. You might know that this is bad, but you might not be able to see how it works at the moment of its function. Right? So the Buddha says at the beginning that monks or whoever, don't worry. I teach you the methodology in 7 ways of dealing with your akusalas by not only knowing, but also by seeing them in their real time. That means I can see how they are arising in anybody's life. So the lesson that we have to learn with that phrase is that in our life, when akusalas are happening, not only it is important to know that this is akusala, but also it's very, very important to see them how they are happening. Now this is happening, this is arising. Now I can understand the conditioning factors. These are the conditions that made me angry. So if you can see this overall background of anger, overall background of jealousy, overall background of irritation, overall background of other small, minor, major akusala things, then you are able to truly practice this whole SABBASAVA Sutta's context. Knowing is not enough. Seeing them as they arise, as they exist within you, and as they go away. These 3 sections with regard to seeing should also be practiced. Janatu Passato. And then what did we learn after that? Here was that Then the Buddha actually presents the 7 methods. You can see them here. Asava, Dasana, Pahata. There are certain asavas that you need to overcome by seeing them. Seeing them means the one that the Buddha just said, right? Knowing is not enough. Now you have to see them. Only by seeing akusalas you can properly manage them, properly deal with them. Sometimes, as I said earlier, you know, but you are not able to see them. How to see akusalas at the time of their arising? Only by practicing a very, very important Dhamma practice. What is that practice called? How to see akusalas in their real time? Anybody? Maybe I can hear from this very sensitive mic, probably, if you can say something. What is that most important, very, very helpful Dhamma practice that helps you to see akusalas, as they arise? You know that this is akusala, but you are not able to see how it arises, how it exists. And if you are lucky enough, so you can, dispel the akusala. What is that practice? What is the method that we can do? We're not seeing, but how to see akusalas? In Pali, we call it Yoniso Manasikara. This is how we are going to see akusalas as they arise, as they function. And if we are lucky enough, we can actually eliminate that akusala by seeing them. Yoniso Manasikara. So the first method, Yoniso Manasikara, is the most important Dhamma practice even before the Noble Eightfold Path. The Buddha says, if you practice Yoniso Manasikara only, you can go to Samadhi. You cannot practice Samadhi without Yoniso Manasikara. Right? So then that means this is a very major thing in our Dhamma journey. If you don't have wise attention, or I would say Yoniso Manasikara, we cannot even go to Samadhi, right view. Because in order for us to understand these are the right views, these are the right perspectives, we should have this Yoniso Manasikara. Yoniso Manasikara means tracing down any sensory experience to its down to its origin. We are actually experiencing lots of sensory events by seeing, by hearing, by smelling, by tasting, by touching, by thinking. In most of these sensory events, what has been happening to us is that we are making decisions. We are interpreting those sensory events just from a certain provisional, from a very provisional, marginalized area of that particular event, and then we are making interpretations. It's like I always use this as an iceberg. A lot of people only see the tip of the iceberg. We only see the tip of the iceberg, but iceberg is actually way, way bigger than the tip. Most of the iceberg is below the sea level. If you take your one sensory event, let's say a tasting event, a tasting sensory event, that you may have had a sort of food that you really like. Now you are going to interpret this food. Mostly, you might not fully experience, maybe you might not fully interpret the whole experience. You might take it just from a subjective point of view. In the same way, if you look at a certain event which made you probably irritated, annoyed, maybe you are not really looking at the full experience of the that particular irritation event, annoyance event, and you only take a certain provisional level of that event and then trying to interpret and then trying to talk to other people, trying to react. And finally, you are in a big mess with those people and yourself too. A lot of inner conflicts happening. So Yoniso Manasikara helps you to fully experience every sensory event, especially in terms of akusalas as well as kusalas. So the first method in the Sabbasava Sutta teaches us that we can see akusalas as they arise, as they work, only by practicing Yoniso Manasikara. Let's go to the note over here, and then we can understand that in a more proper way. Right, you can see here, day 23rd. It's pretty easy. If you click on this link, it will go to our notes of that day, particular day. And you can see again the particular note. And we discuss wise attention. And the Buddha says that overall, we have 3 influxes in our life. They are called kamasava, bhavasava, avijjasava, influx with regard to sensual desires. We call them as kamasava. Influxes with regard to, becoming, we call it as bhavasava. Influx with regard to ignorance. Why are we here? Why are we still in the samsara? Because we have lots of ignorance. So these are the 3 main asavas. The problem is we have not been able to see these asavas simply because we have not been able to practice Yoniso Manasikara adequately. That's why we have not been able to see them. Right? That is how the Buddha starts off this sutta. And then we also discuss because of the inability of not being able to practice Yoniso Manasikara, a lot of people, they are coming out with doubts. There were 16 doubts. You can see over here. Was I in the past? Was I not in the past? Doubts about the past, doubts about the future, doubts about the present time. So these doubts arise in someone's life because there's no practice of Yoniso Manasikara, wise attention. If they have been able to practice Yoniso Manasikara, these doubts will be reduced, minimized, or diminished. And then we discuss about the sort of views, wrong views that arise because of the practice of these 6, or maybe having these 16 doubts. You can see there are 6 main views, wrong views, right? Now you will understand, when you don't practice Yoniso Manasikara, you will end up with wrong views. But when you practice Yoniso Manasikara, you will end up with samadhi, right view. So it's highly connected to views. And then we discuss, let's go back to the text again, over here, the first one, and then, okay, Dasana Pahatamma, that's the first one. Dasana means seeing, and we will go to individual notes a little bit later. The second method is Asava Sangvara Pahatamma. Sangvara means sensory restraint. That means guarding our senses. It is such a very important way to take care of us, because oftentimes a lot of people, they don't calm their senses. Calm their senses means they don't guard their senses. Right? Somebody might say, when I immerse with certain sensualities, I calm myself in a different way. I calm my senses. But here, the second method means that you are trying to guard your senses. And guarding your senses means that you are going to take care of your senses. You are not going to be vulnerable with the external things that are coming to your senses, because you know that they are not your focus. Your focus is to strengthen your internal senses. You are not letting Rupa to come and take you over. You are not going to let sound, Saddha, come and take you over. You are not letting taste, Gandha, or maybe, the smell to come and take you over. You are not going to let taste come and take you over. You are not going to let touch come and take you over. You are not letting, thought come and take you over. You are going to manage all. You are going to take care of your senses, and you know where you're going to end up. So this kind of a management is what we understand by the second mind. We will be discussing more later, but I just kind of summarize you at this point. Also, please keep in mind, under the second method, what you call samvara, restraining, it does not mean that there is a sensory deprivation, right? A lot of people think that taking care of one's senses means a sensory deprivation, that you have to shut down everything, you have to close down everything. Remember another sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya. Majjhima Nikaya is 152, the last sutta. We call it Indriya Bhavana Sutta. Right? In this Indriya Bhavana Sutta, there is a man who approaches the Buddha. He was a follower of a very famous Brahmin. And this Brahmin was teaching how to take care of the senses. So the Buddha asked questions from him, his follower. How does your teacher, Parasarya Brahmin, teach you or teach others how to take care of senses? And then he explained his teacher's methodology. My teacher, Parasarya Brahmin, told us, whenever you see images, rupas, you have to close your eyes. Like many people's meditation, they close their eyes. I mean, there's no such thing called to close your eyes while you meditate. There's no such thing in the text. But you can do it just to calm yourself. I remember, like, when I was a Buddhist chaplain at a university in Canada, we were taking turns of doing meditation. There was a Zen chaplain. In Zen tradition, they are not asking people to close their eyes when they meditate. They say, open your eyes. And then somebody asks a question, why are we not going to close eyes? Because this is what he said, the Zen chaplain. When you close your eyes, your thoughts can go to many places. But when you open your eyes, your thoughts can be here, only in this small setup. There's a point. So, but when somebody comes for the meditation for the first time, we also recommend to close eyes, right? But closing eyes and doing a meditation in the long run might not be working, because you have to work with people. You have to see people. Your true meditation works when you see them and then you are not getting distracted. You understand who they are, right? So then the Buddha said, okay, if your teacher teaches you to take care of your eyes in a way that we have to close your eyes, that means blind people should be better than all of us, huh? Because blind people cannot see anything. So they must be able to attain Nibbana faster than all of us, isn't it? Blind people cannot see anything. But just because somebody is blind, that doesn't lead them to attain Nibbana, right? So that means it might not be a proper way to take care of our senses. You have to see images. We have to see people, things. And also, this student of that Brahmin explained, sometimes he teaches in a way that when we hear certain sounds that we don't like to hear, we need to sort of close our ears. Maybe we need to go away from that place, right? Then the Buddha questioned back, then the deaf people will be more able to take care of their sounds because they don't hear anything. They also must be able to attain Nibbana faster than all of us. But it doesn't happen that way, right? So in the same way, he was explaining that the teacher's Brahmin's way is that a kind of a sensory deprivation. You don't have to deprive of your senses, right? I always tell many students that when you come for a meditation retreat, you need to understand you are going to practice, you are going to learn how to sit, how to stay quiet, how to spend the day peacefully. But you are doing this because you want more practice when you're going back home. That means your true meditation happens when you are off the cushion, right? So in the same way, this what you call second method, what you call by Sangvara, calming your senses should happen in a way that you understand what are those senses, what are those sensory objects, right? That is how you're going to deal with them. But we will discuss more, but at the moment, I just summarize this second method. And then the third one is called Atti Asava Patisevana Pahatam. How did we learn about Patisevana? Wise use of our needs, right? We have to use our needs wisely. We have a couple of needs. How many needs do we have? Major needs. Can you remember? I'm going to be asking from those who have been participating in the class. How many needs are there for us to be wisely used? There are 4 needs. What are the 4 needs? Using clothes, eating, drinking, then using our shelter, our houses, at the same time using medication. So these are the 4 needs, but these 4 needs have to be used in a wise way. And the Buddha said, whenever you use your needs in a wise way, then you can minimize, you can diminish lots of akusalas. There are lots of akusalas or asavas associating with the needs, because you might perhaps think that wants are more dangerous. Yes, it could be, but these needs, they are needs, but if you don't understand the way how they are working, if you don't understand how you are supposed to work with them, how you are supposed to deal with them, there may be akusalas that are happening, that are coming, that are arising with those actions. Okay, so the Buddha said we have to use our needs wisely. When you use your needs wisely, you can minimize akusalas that are associating the needs. That's what you call the third method. First one is seeing, that means using Yoniso Manasikara. Second is sensory restraint. Third one is called Patisevana Pahatabba. That means Patisevana means the wise use of needs. And then the fourth one is called Adivasana Pahatabba. Adivasana. This is the fourth one. What does adivasana mean? Tolerance. In our life, lots of akusalas, lots of, I would say, asavas can be managed when we practice more tolerance, more patience. Even to practice anything in our life, even to come to meditate, even to come for a Dhamma talk, even to go for a Dhamma talk, even to listen to a Dhamma talk, even to give some dana, even to talk nice words to somebody, even to be kind to other people. We need patience in the first place. Because if you run out of patience, then what's happening is that you are not going to do anything better. Right? Even to practice mindfulness, you need patience. Because you are coming, sitting down, and then learning, practicing, right? That's why in one place, the Buddha said, patience is the root of all the kusalas. It is the root of all the kusalas. Because without patience, you can't do anything. If you take that way, the other way around is lack of patience is the root cause of lot of akusalas. Right? When you are running out of patience, then you are getting easily into akusalas. Let's say anger. When you are not patient enough, you can burst yourself. Right? When you are not patient enough, then you are not being able, you will not be able to practice any good thing. Right? So, patience. The Buddha said, whenever you are patient, you can minimize lots of akusalas. Those akusalas are particularly in regard to not managing your, what you call, impatience. So patience is the root kusala. Although you see alobha dosa moha, but it is the root kusala, because without patience you can't do anything. And then the fifth one we discussed was asava parivajjana pahatava. Parivajjana means, what does parivajjana mean? Parivajjana means avoiding. Sometimes we have to avoid certain people and certain animals, certain even some things. Now, say for instance, if you are surrounded by, I would say, papamittas, if you are surrounded by bad friends, you actually really need to avoid bad friends. How to avoid bad friends? Can somebody tell me how to avoid bad friends? When you know that they are bad friends, how to avoid them? Are you going to tell them you are a bad friend, don't come to me? Is that how you're going to avoid them? Hey, don't come to me, don't call me, don't even come and talk to me anything. You are going to do a very full practice of avoiding friends, those kind of friends. Actually, we cannot do that, because in Buddhism, we cannot do things like that to people, because we have to practice metta, right? We are supposed to send metta to all the people. Our metta should go to difficult people in the first place, if we could. But you are trying to set a boundary. Setting boundaries are very important, right? Especially for the difficult people. Okay? So, when you are setting boundaries for difficult people, that means you are going to avoid certain bad friends, because a lot of bad things can happen when you don't set boundaries for the papamittas, bad friends. So it's very important. By doing so, you are going to manage, you are going to deal with lots of unnecessary akusas. Not only bad friends, but also sometimes certain unnecessary things. Now, the sutta says some animals, right? And also some things like shrubs, pricky things, right? Let's say that you know that this when you go on this road, there are certain things like pricky herbs, maybe other things that are really giving me a hard time in walking. So you are avoiding those places because you want to minimize your thoughts of akusalas. In case an akusala arises because of these things, it's not good. So the Buddha says avoiding is also a good method to manage, diminish, reduce some akusalas. Avoid. Call it parivajjana. That's going to be the fifth one. And then asava vinodana pahata. Vinodana. Vinodana means there are some akusalas, some asavas that we have to destroy in terms of what you call mental states. We are not going to destroy people. These are mainly related to the akusala thoughts such as vyapada, I would say kama, vyapada, hinsa. Now we have, when we are not training our thoughts quite often, then kama thoughts, sensual desires are giving us a very hard time. So when we understand how does this particular sensual thought arise in my mind, if this is not very important. I mean, I'm not talking about lay life in particular. Even in lay life, even to love your loved ones, even to love your husband, even to love your wife, you should subdue unnecessary karma desires that are not happening within your relationship. Because if they are happening in a way that you can't manage, then it's going to be a problem. So the Buddha says that you need to deal with these unnecessary karma thoughts. Also, vyapada, ill will, thoughts of destroying other people. That is also very bad, right? So the Buddha says, whenever the karma thoughts arise, whenever thoughts of destroying other people arise, whenever thoughts of bullying other people arise, you must end. You must destroy those akusala thoughts at that time, maybe upfront, much better. If you can let go, if you can destroy means letting go, such thoughts, I mean, at the time, then that means it's very easy for you to deal with those akusalas. So that means destroying in terms of karma, sensual thoughts, then thoughts of destruction, and then thoughts of bullying other people. So you have to practice them. You have to destroy such thoughts as they arise. And then to bring the opposite of these thoughts, that means nekkhamma, renunciation thoughts, and then what you call metta thoughts, loving kindness, and then thoughts of supporting, helping, taking care of other people. So this is another way, I would say, the sixth method of the SABBASAVA Sutta, whereby you are going to eliminate lots of akusalas, lots of asavas. Then the seventh method is bhavana. I think this is what we learned last week. I mean, a couple weeks before, but for the last time we did. Now, bhavana, I think I wanted to go to the notes of bhavana, which I released today. That is really interesting. But first of all, you can see over here, 22nd, 23rd, day 24, day 25, day 26, day 27, 28, 29. Okay, third year, seventh method developing. And here you can see, okay, unwise attention leads to not developing. Why many people cannot develop their 7 bojjhangas? Because they have lots of unwise attention, not yoniso manasikara. They have ayoniso manasikara, the opposite of yoniso manasikara. That means, now when I ask people, what is yoniso manasikara? Seeing things as they are. Well, I mean, that is closer to vipassana. It's vipassana idea. But yoniso manasikara means being able to see any sensory experience down to its roots, its origin. So now, as you understand, even people, any being who has not been able to develop 7 bojjhangas, they have a reason. The reason is that they have not been able to practice wise attention. They have been practicing unwise attention, right? That is the main reason. And then, what is bhavana? What is bhavana? Any thoughts? This has a cultural meaning, but I'm not talking about the cultural meaning. Bhavana means, I would say, developing wholesome thoughts. You cannot merely sit down on a floor and then say that you are developing. You must develop these 7 bojjhangas. That means sati, dhammavichaya, viriya, piti, passaddhi, samadhi, upekkha. And there is a misconception about 7 bojjhangas too. A lot of people think 7 bojjhangas are only given for the arahants. They were only given for arahants or maybe for enlightened people. Now, this is a very good example, a very good sutta to understand that they were not only given to the arahants and so on. They were also given to normal people, unenlightened people. Because when you practice 7 bojjhangas more and more, you are able to deal with your own akusalas with regard to 7 bojjhangas. So bhavana, the word bhavana must be used for 7 bojjhangas, right? But in the Pali commentaries, Visuddhimagga and all these books, this word has been taken to introduce certain specific meditations. Samatha, vipassana and all these meditations. But the Buddha mainly uses bhavana for the practice of 7 bojjhangas. It's not particular meditations. So it has all these 7 methods. Because if you use bhavana for a certain meditation, that meditation might not have a full spectrum of the developing. That is the thing that we should learn about bhavana. Then, why is bhavana? Why is it? Bhavana is so important because bhavana is the developing. Developing our wholesome thoughts. We have to develop wholesome thoughts as much as we can, right? Because when we are not developing wholesome thoughts, what is developing within us is unwholesome thoughts. So developing is very, very important. That's why bhavana. And then, why is the meaning of the word bhavana is so ambiguous in context? It is because people learn bhavana from commentaries. Because in commentaries, bhavana means certain meditations. But here, in early suttas, I would say here, SABBASAVA Sutta says, bhavana is not certain meditations. Bhavana is the overall practice of 7 bojjhangas. Sati, Dhammavichaya, Viriya, Piti, Samadhi, Upekha, right? So all these are things, practices that we have to practice in our daily life. And then, why is the practice of 7 awakening factors referred to as bhavana rather than specific meditations? This is what I said earlier. Normally, many people think that bhavana means certain meditations, but bhavana, according to the Buddha, early Buddhism, according to Buddha's true thoughts, that bhavana means developing, not certain meditations, but 7 bojjhangas in particular. And this is also very important, as you can see here. Why should the 7 awakening components, 7 bojjhangas, under bhavana be practiced in the context of these things? Viveka nissita, viraga nissita, nirodha nissita, vassagga parana. Now, if you want to practice 7 bojjhangas, of course you are supposed to, you must practice within these parameters, within these components. What do you say? Viveka nissita. You have to practice them with lots of viveka. Let me ask you a question. Do we need lots of rest for practicing Dhamma? Lots of me time, our time, your own time for practicing Dhamma? Do we? Yes, we need some time. We need our personal time to practice Dhamma. But although we take time personally for our Dhamma practice, we also need to associate Kalyana Mittas. We also need to, I would say, be surrounded by Kalyana Mittas, and we also need to, go to certain places, practice and all that. But time to time, it is very important to take some time off for our personal practice too. Vivekanista means you will not be able to practice 7 bojjhangas without giving you enough time. Now, one very good example is rest. Vivekanista, you must have rest. Can you imagine that there are certain akusalas coming up when you don't give yourself enough rest? Examples. Now let's say you don't sleep. You don't sleep on a particular day at night. Then the following day, what do you think? Are you emotionally able to handle your anger, frustration when you are working with others? Now you haven't slept properly yet. Do you think that if you don't sleep well, you are still able to manage your emotions? Not all the time, right? What about eating food? You are skipping breakfast, you are skipping lunch, you are not properly taking your meals. Do you think that this situation will lead you to some akusala? Because you are very hungry, you are not in the right mind, so you are very hungry, you are not thinking properly, you can't think properly. And when you cannot think properly because you haven't had enough good food, then you might not be able to practice Dhamma. Rest. Having a good sleep, having some food at the right timing, they are all important for you to lower, minimize, diminish akusalas. What are the other examples? Any other examples that can take you to akusala, especially in terms of not giving you enough rest? If you are somebody who is a working professional, and nowadays everybody is concerned about work-life balance. We have to have a balance of our life, right? At the same time, if you are somebody who is not properly doing your work, so the work is going to pile up. right? You don't know how to finish them, right? So that means you have to rest yourself. Your body needs rest. Your thoughts, your mind needs rest. Only when you give enough rest to your certain aspects of your life, you can practice 7 bojjhangas very well. Because rest is very important. Then, second word is viraga nisita. Viraga nisita. Time to time in our life, it is very important to practice a certain dispassion, right? You may be with your loved ones, but time to time you are thinking, how is it like practicing dispassion? It means lowering your sensual desires. How nice will it be like? How to understand dispassion? How to feel the dispassion, right? So you have to practice 7 bojjhangas at a certain point with dispassion. That's what it says as what you call viraga nisita. And then nirodha nisita. Nirodha. Now somebody might be very confused. How come we can practice nirodha? We are not yet enlightened people. It is not the idea here. Nirodha here also refers to cessation of our thoughts. Let's say you have anger, you have jealousy, you have loving kindness. All these thoughts have a cessation. They arise, they stay, and then they go away. Cessation. If you can think about the cessation of your thought structures, then you can be more mindful about it. You can be more peaceful about it. Now, how many people are struggling in their life when they are with a lot of negativities, frustrations, annoyances? Do they ever think that their thoughts of frustration will cease? No, they are always thinking, these troubling thoughts will keep coming after me. But according to Buddha, all these thoughts, they are supposed to cease. So by looking at cessation, you can practice 7 bojjhangas, right? That's what it says. And then you can see here, Vassagga Parinam. What does Vassagga Parinam means? Vassagga means that you are practicing letting go. Because if you don't practice letting go, you cannot develop 7 bojjhangas. Because when you practice letting go, you are able to practice 7 bojjhangas well. Now, the rough idea here is that if you want to practice 7 bojjhangas, you must take enough rest to your body. You must take what you call have enough time to reflect upon your sensuality. At the same time, you must have certain time for being able to see cessation of your thought structures. You must be able to have letting go practice. Only when you have these 4, you can practice, you can develop 7 bojjhangas well. Finally, if bhavana is merely one technique to deal with particular akusalas, how can we understand contemporary meditation concept? Very interesting. Bhavana is one method here out of the 7 methods. But here, bhavana does not mean meditation styles, meditation concept. Bhavana here means an overall practice of 7 bojjhangas along with what you call rest, then dispassion, cessation, and then finally letting go. All right. These are the 7 methods. And then, okay, probably now we have come down to the last 20 minutes of our discussion. I probably invite you to ask any questions if you have about Sabbasava Sutta, and then we can go again about certain details about the 7 methods. Any questions so far?
The others one is also not bhavana or something like that. I missed that part. Do you remember that? The first part. When you teach the bhavana, the bhavana part, then got somebody ask, how about the rest? Is it also bhavana? Can you explain again?
No, that person only thought the only way to overcome akusala, asava, is to meditate. That person thought so before. So he then asked me, he thought even when I explained the 7 methods, they all should be part of meditation. Then I said, if all these are meditations, why didn't the Buddha particularly said the last one is only developing? That means in order for us to fully overcome akusalas, we need to have 6 methods, going beyond the meditation too, going beyond the developing too. So that person had a wrong understanding that meditation is the only way to overcome asavas or akusalas. So I said, it's not. We have 6 other methods too. So we have to practice all these 7 methods simultaneously. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Then the other question is, the other 6 is a bhavana or not bhavana for you?
Not necessarily. They are not technically bhavana. They are different ways of overcoming. They are not technically bhavana. Bhavana means developing. Let's say parivajjana. Parivajjana means you avoid certain people. This is not bhavana, right? You have to avoid these people. But you might say, no, I should have certain mindfulness to do that. You can think that way. But the bigger activity is that you have to avoid these people, certain animals, certain things. And if you even take Sangvara, the second method, Sangvara means you're going to guard your senses. You could say this is also mindfulness, but it is a separate activity. We have to guard our senses. That means we have to take care of our senses. But when you say, I want to develop my mind, I want to develop my thoughts, that is a separate method. That is what we take as the 7th one. Especially developing 7 bodhya. It is a separate one. But other ones are not called as developing. Other ones are not bhavana. If other ones are bhavana, Buddha could have said, no, there are no 7 methods. The only method is bhavana. So he separated out the methodology into 7. Today is the last day we are discussing Sabbasava Sutta. If you have any questions, please don't keep them to you. Please come and ask, because we are going to start a new sutta after this.
Bhante, can I ask you, once we eliminate all this defilement, does it mean that we are liberated? How ultimately what will happen once you eliminate? When to put it in a perspective.
Such a very, if we are lucky enough, if we are liberating, at least we are half liberated. All right. So it depends. It depends on individuals. Actually, a lot of things affect our sansaric life. Sometimes, although you know lots of Dhamma, but sansarically you have not been able to practice a lot of things. So if you ask particularly about the 7 methods, what I can say is that if you can properly practice these 7 methods in terms of your asavas, akusalas, you can definitely make lots of progress in terms of dealing with your akusalas. Lots of progress. But the actual true level of that progress depends from one person. It is different from one person to another person. Yeah, so that's what I can say. But of course, if you are simultaneously practicing these 7, you might be almost going to be, attainable to these, what you call enlightenment, maybe at least becoming a Sotapan. Definitely. You mean Vinodana, right? Vinodana. This one?
Vinodana, yes. Yes. Number
Okay.
5.
What is Uppanuppanne Papake Akusale Dham?
Bhante, can you
Yes.
please go over it again? Because I missed that part.
You mean you want me to explain what it is?
Yes.
It's in Pali. Okay. Good.
Yes.
Okay. Uppanuppanne Papake Akusale Dham. Now, when we are looking at our akusala, some akusalas have already being active in us. Some akusalas have not been active yet. Active akusala, inactive akusala. Uppanna akusala means active akusala. Anuppanna akusala means inactive. Now let me show you here. Okay. Uppan, this part means active part. And then here, Anuppan, that means inactive part. Papa means evil, I would say unwholesome. So when it comes to Uppanna, Anuppanna, now when we look at our own akusalas, some akusalas are already within us, some akusalas have not yet come to us. So these some akusalas that are not in us, we call them inactive akusalas. They can come to us if we associate bad friends, if we don't train our thoughts, if we don't consistently practice Dhamma. So then those inactive akusalas also become active. So Uppanuppan means Uppanuppan is a Sandhi combination in Pali. Uppanna means active akusala, Anuppanna means inactive akusala. We have to manage the both, because both are not good stuff. Other questions about Sabbasava Sutta? Yes, please. Yeah.
I always thought that the 7 Bojjhanga is the effect of us from doing meditation, which is the cause. Then the effect is actually the 7 Bojjhanga. I think just now, Bhante, you said that I think we need to develop the 7 Bojjhanga in order to minimize the akusala. So I thought that was 7 Bojjhanga is an effect that if we do meditation, we will develop mindfulness, we will develop serenity or raptures, and even those to achieve the 7 Bojjhanga. But how to develop it one by one? I thought it's like it's the effect. It's something that it's like a reward if you do meditation. This is a thing. 7 Bojjhanga will come. Just appreciate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, according to how you have thought, 7 Bojjhangas were things that automatically arise when you practice meditation. But they are not automatic things. You have to practice them separately and then at a certain point simultaneously. Now, let me ask you, when you look at this Buddhist concept, there is mindfulness, there is sila, morality, precepts, and there is dana, there is metta, there is compassion, there is altruistic joy, there's upekkha. So how do we understand that what are the exact things that we have to practice, cultivate in order to attain Nibbana? If you ask that question from me, I would tell you 7 Bojjhangas. 7 Bojjhangas, even if you take Sila, even if you take Dana, they are leading up to 7 Bojjhangas. Even if you take Metta, it leads up to 7 Bojjhangas. How? Let's say Dana. How does Dana go to 7 Bojjhangas? Now somebody is trying to practice Dana. Dana does not mean you go to a Vihara and offer and go back home. while you are doing that, you are giving up your lobha, dosa, moha. So that means whenever you are giving dana, you have sati. You have virya. By giving dana, you are going to concentrate your thoughts. Right? So all the tiny, minimal, minor, major, the dhamma things you are doing in your daily life, they are leading you up to the 7 bodhichangas. All right? That means 7 bodhichangas, if you don't know, that there is a huge connection between, very big connection between tiny little activities that you are doing in your life into 7 bodhichangas. 7 bodhichangas are not exactly a result of your practice. 7 bodhichangas are what you are practicing with each of your minor, major dhamma practices. This is the king. So let's say, if you ask me how to understand 7 bodhichangas, I would say 7 bodhichangas are the exact, precise, developing things that we have to practice in our daily life if we want to attain Nibbana. And some people wrongly understand even the Bojjhanga Suttas. Bojjhanga Suttas are only for the enlightened people. It is not so. Now here Buddha says you have to practice 7 Bojjhangas to minimize akusalas. Then how come is it going to be only valid for an arahant? This is also a practice for lay people, for people who are unenlightened. It is not only for enlightened people. Enlightened people will think about, contemplate on those 7. But 7 Bojjhangas are one of the methods that we must practice as a, method to, overcome many akusalas. Now, say for instance, there is someone who is always unmindful, who is always not doing things with some mindfulness. So she's going to practice mindfulness. So at that point, this person develops sati, right? And there is someone who wants to learn more Dhamma. He or she is going to search Dhamma on internet. He's going to listen to Dhamma talks. He's going to ask questions from monks or Dhamma speakers. And he's or she's going to analyze. She is just going to synthesize, rationalize. This is Dhamma Vicaya Bodhjanga. You are doing that. You are supposed to do it. And there is somebody who is, trying to practice lots of energy, virya, because virya is very important. If we lack or if we run out of virya, we are into akusala. So that means these 7 are normal qualities, I would say, which lead us to Nibbana in the foreseeable future. They are not the results of certain tiny things. Tiny things are reflective about the 7 Bodhjangas, and 7 Bodhjangas must be practiced by all unenlightened people. Even enlightened people are definitely doing that. All unenlightened people must practice 7 Bodhjangas. Thereby, that means even you take the Noble Eightfold Path, it has the 7 Bodhjangas. It's not the result. There is a wrong understanding that I think this is what you were telling actually just now. Only when you attain Nibbana, 7 Bodhjangas automatically arise, isn't it? That is how people have been teaching this. 7 Bodhjangas are Dhamma practices. We have to do it. We have to practice it even before we attain Nibbana. Because there are many akusalas which will be diminished by the practice.
Thank you for elaborating Bojjhanga, because like you say, there are a lot of misconception. So like you say, it's more of a practice. So may I ask, why do people keep chanting for Bojjhanga? They have a Bojjhanga chanting session. So what is the significance? Is it just a reminder? Because it gives the impression that by chanting, then you get the result of the Bojjhanga.
Okay. Now Bojjhangas have been given by the Buddha here to overcome akusalas. What is the context of Bojjangas? In the Bojjanga Suttas, Bojjanga chanting. Now, in those suttas, we see there are certain monks, I would say Arahants, Mahakassapa, Mahamoggallana, and Buddha himself as well. They were sick. And then what happened? Another monk, in two examples, the Buddha approached those two monks. And in the Buddha's case, Arahant Mahachunda approached the Buddha. And then they started chanting the 7 Bojjangas. And then what happened? As they chant, the two Arahants and the Buddha were giving more attention to these 7 factors, because these are the 7 factors they practiced already in their life before they became enlightened. And by focusing on the 7 Bojjangas, it is believed, it is said that your thoughts can be concentrated, thereby you will be able to have a certain mental concentration purity, and that will help you overcome sicknesses in those suttas. But they were particularly given for the Arahants. They were particularly given for the Buddha at that point. But it doesn't mean that it is not relevant to us. Let's say there's an unenlightened person who is very sick. Okay, who is very sick. So a monk or a group of monks go to that devotee's house, and now they start chanting the Bojjanga Suttas, right? But devotee may not have a proper understanding about the sutta. But if the devotee had understood the sutta, devotee can think about devotee's own Bojjanga factors. Because everyone has been practicing 7 Bojjangas in their own way. So when the devotee is thinking about, okay, I have practiced sati, I have practiced Dhamma Vicaya, I have practiced Viriya, I have practiced Piti, I have practiced Upekha, I have practiced Samadhi. Then what happens? That understanding that oneself has practiced 7 Bojjangas helps that person to recover mentally from that particular sickness. There is a belief. It can work. Because now the other thing is that these 3 Bojjangas have been very popular among the devotees in a way that when monks are chanting these Bojjangas, our sicknesses will go away. Because normally to have a space in someone's life to believe that this will help my sickness, this will help me get better, is also important. That is why Bojjangas have been chanted for sick people. But Bojjangas, the true benefit of the Bojjangas come from the practice of Bojjangas, not that somebody is saying that there are Bojjangas, then you will get better. The true recovery comes from either the practice, or by thinking that I have practiced before. Right? So these are the 2 major ways of getting better, or maybe to attain Nibbana one day. On the other hand, in terms of chanting, devotees truly believe that the monks have lots of compassion towards us, so this will help me. Or maybe they can think about, they can reflect upon their own Bojjangas previously, which they have been practicing so far. But the idea is that Bojjangas are not just things that are going to help you recover. They are representing a methodology, a method for you to overcome akusalas. Yeah, it's almost, I would say, 8 days. We have spent 8 days for SABBASAVA Sutta. And then the sutta that we will be discussing after today is Pattakama Sutta. Pattakama Sutta is very important. This is the sutta which the Buddha gave to lay people's happiness in their life. I think all you are interested about your own happiness as a lay person. So we'll be discussing that. be sending you the text to translation. So, as a summary about Sabbasava Sutta, what I can say is try to practice these 7 methods as much as you could. Then you are going to deal with your own akusalas, and you will grow in wisdom and then compassion in your practice. This is what I can say. Don't take these 7 methods as very hard practices. Dhamma practice shouldn't be a hard one or very soft one. It's like a balanced out practice. The more you understand, the more you should be able to put them into practice in your own practice in a very comfortable, very peaceful way. All right. So may all the good karmas which you've been making today be transferred to all the departed ones. May they be well and happy. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.